You're going to have a much reduced risk of all age-related disease. You're not going to end up in a home. You're not going to break your hip. You're not going to have a heart attack or a stroke. You're not going to lose your faculties. But I will say all of that for the patient, it takes work, it takes money, it takes time, it takes a lot of effort to be able to do that stuff.
How long should you stay on HRT? Well, this is a question that we get asked all the time, and the answer is, it depends. But we're going to talk to you exactly how we work with women and how long they can stay on HRT. So I'm Dr. Valorie Davidson.
And I'm Dr. Robert Mackey from the Progression Health Podcast. So you're right, this question comes up whether, online or we're talking to a patient. If they've never been on HRT before, they always want to know how long they can stay on it. Now, it has changed quite a bit, even over the last probably a few years. It used to be very specific. It used to be 7 years, but now I think that the people that are in the know, I think that opinion is changing radically.
Oh my gosh, there's always we've been doing this for 20 years and people would say, oh, you're only supposed to stay on it 5 years. You're only supposed to stay on it 4 years. You're only supposed to stay on it to get through your symptoms. You're only supposed to stay on it for 7 years. I always said, it depends on the person. Like I said, the answer depends, but you can stay on the HRT for as long as you want, as long as you're working with your practitioner and everything is, going well and balanced. But there is really no cutoff when you stop HRT. And one big question that I would get from women is they would say, well, my doctor told me I can only stay on HRT for 4 years. What's going to happen after that 4 years? I'm going to say you're going to go through menopause, right?
Yeah.
You add in that HRT.
Your symptoms are going to come right back.
Come right back. And women will tell you, and I'm sure some of you women watching that are on HRT that stop taking it just because maybe I don't want to pay for it anymore, or I just got tired of taking it or something. And then you will notice some of those symptoms do come back. They might not come back as hugely accelerated as they might have been, but some women do. They'll say, I ran out of my hormones and my hot flashes and night sweats were insane, or my brain fog was awful. So I'm like, yeah, you can stop it in 4 years, but it's just going to come back.
Yeah. Now, sometimes if if someone's using any type of estrogen therapy, because she's in menopause, and she stops, of course, her hot flashes are going to be acutely elevated because of the withdrawal effect of, stopping recently. But eventually those, some of those temperature problems will probably subside, but there'll be potentially a bunch of other issues that could still kind of be there. Because one thing that's different between a man and a woman is that men's testosterone levels, they decline, but they don't stop being produced completely. Like a woman's hormones, she goes from producing a whole bunch of hormones to nothing, right? So the idea that you can't take hormones, that I think existed for a long time because of this fear that hormones cause cancer. Mm-hmm. And I think that even that still exists for some. The ones that don't prescribe them are sort of anti-hormone because I think they still firmly believe that. But now, which is good, I think the new opinion is that hormones are safe to use and they do not cause cancer.
And if somebody wanted to, for some reason, say, I don't want to take my hormones anymore, or I want to stop, and that's valid too. That's why it's all personal choice. Is I will tell women, well, instead of like taking them and going cold turkey, let's just wean you off.
Yeah.
And I've worked with women a lot with weaning them off certain hormones, or maybe weaning them off particular hormones to put them on a different type of hormone replacement, because there's so many different types of hormone replacement. Now, in terms of the rhythmic dosing, when you're doing rhythmic dosing, you're recreating that ovarian cycle. You're literally putting that estrogen in the system, cycling it in the doses that would be that of a reproductive female. Same with the progesterone. You would be cycling the progesterone in that of a reproductive female. Now, you're not reproductive when you're in menopause and you're doing the rhythmic dosing. I do have to say, I've had women ask me that question. Does that mean that I could get pregnant on rhythmic dosing? Nope. But you are recreating that ovarian function, or that cycle. So that I feel like, absolutely, if you're on that rhythmic dosing, you're doing good and you like it, stay on it for as long as you want to, as long as you're, like I said, you're working with a practitioner that is testing, because I do feel like blood testing is very important. Our subjective information, what we say, is important, but we also want to get that objective info.
Yeah, especially if you're on some type of a regimen. If you're on, like I said, rhythmic dosing, then the labs are even more important. But it's not, hormones should never be a set it and forget it kind of a situation. Do they cause cancer? Directly, no. Can they cause problems? Yes. So they do need to be monitored, and they do need to be followed up. Even, something like an annual transvaginal ultrasound can be a very good idea depending on the person. And like you said just a second ago, as a woman is transitioning from her early to mid 50s to her later 50s to her early 60s and beyond, that hormone protocol that she's using might evolve over time. It might not be exactly the same thing that she's used the entire time. And I think that that's reasonable. There might be different goals, different things that need to be adjusted, but to say that you can only be on it for 7 years, I think is a little bit short-sighted.
Absolutely. So in terms of the topic of this podcast, how long should you be on HRT? Like I said, it depends. HRT, estrogen and progesterone are really amazing for your bone density. So let's say you have somebody that has, grandma had osteoporosis, my mom had osteoporosis, I've got osteopenia at this moment. Like, what do I want to do so that in 20 years I don't have, my bones aren't brittle or I have a good bone density? You might want to consider taking the HRT for longer so that you can maintain that bone density along with the lifestyle and supplementation and all that jazz. Now, there might be other women that I've had like, hey, I've been single for a while and I just met this amazing human and I want to be with him. And then we're working on that aspect with the genital urinary syndrome of menopause. Maybe you're working on that aspect. Maybe you're working on someone's brain fog, because I've had so many women that come in and they ask me, do I have dementia? I go, no, you don't have dementia. It's the hormones. So that's where you're looking at what are our goals for this person, moving forward.
Yeah. Right. And that right there, that's this type of the factors that are going to dictate what kind of hormones they're going to use. But yeah, I mean, just to say that you have to stop them at some point. I do think that some of those recommendations from the early 2000s, at least that's when you and I started hearing about that. You can only be on for 7 years. I think that was inherently because the medication that were being used at that time they actually had some dangers to them. And all hormones get lumped into the same bucket, so whatever you took orally is going to be the same thing that you do transdermally, and that's just not the case. Nowadays, I think most, if not all, prescriptions that women are using are going to be some form of a bioidentical HRT of some sort. We're not using conjugated equine estrogens anymore, or progestins, unless you're taking birth control pills. That's where I think it was limited to a certain timeline. And now we've sort of realized that, hey, that was not a great idea. There's better options that we can use. And now I think most women, if not all, we would never prescribe some of those old types of medications. And I think they're probably still around to some extent, but I think they've been sort of phased out. I don't think people use them at all.
Yeah, no, I don't. Really, if you're on, I guess to kind of recircle back to the topic of this, this podcast is, can you be on HRT? How long? If you're on bioidentical hormones, where the hormones look exactly like what our own bodies would make, absolutely, you could stay on them. But like Dr. Mackey mentioned, is what you might take at 51 could be different at 57, could be different at 66. The doses could change, the ratios could change because your goals are changing, your body's changing, we're doing testing. So yes, you can be on the HRT, but it might morph as we get older, just like everything does.
Yeah. Now, I will say, when mentioned rhythmic dosing, we have a few patients, quite a few that are in their 60s and 70s that are rhythmic dosing and they're still getting periods, right?
And they love it.
And honestly, I will say that those collectively are the healthiest women that we have, in general, right? They're on no medications. They have very good lifestyles. They're in tip-top shape. The health of women now, that at least the ones that we see, maybe ours are, a skewed population compared to the rest of the country. But we have women in their 60s and 70s that are just incredible. I mean,
they're weightlifting, they're hiking. Yeah. I mean, and because that's women. Sorry, did I interrupt you? No, I apologize if I did. Yeah. But I know that, when because I'm 53, you just turned 52, is you think about, am I going to be able to do the things that I get to do now 10 years from now? Am I going to be hiking, 8 miles? Are we going to be able to, am I going to be able to lift things? Am I going to be able to get up off the chair? Or if you fall down, you think about, what your longevity is going to be when you hit your 50s.
And you need to plan that. Like on the last episode, we talked about perimenopause. You need to start planning that and have a strategy in your 40s. Mm-hmm. Because if you wait and wait and wait, the longer you wait, the harder it is, and you cannot make up for lost time. you absolutely cannot make up for lost time. So if you're, turning 65 or something and you're trying to, get in shape and prevent age-related problems, it's going to be really tough. But if you start when you're, 40 or 45 and have a good strategy, now now you're going to be able to cruise into those later years with a high degree of functioning. You're going to have a much reduced risk of all age-related disease. You're not going to end up in a home. You're not going to break your hip. You're not going to have a heart attack or a stroke. You're not going to lose your faculties and have significant cognitive decline. But I will say all of that for the patient, it takes work, it takes money, it takes time, it takes a lot of effort to be able to do that stuff. And that's why some of our patients, they work their butts off, but at the same time, they sort of reap what they sow in that respect, because they look great, they feel great, their bodies function well, no aches and pains. And I will say for some of them, the hormones play a big role, and it doesn't play the only role. You can't have a terrible lifestyle and expect the hormones to solve everything for you. But if you have a good lifestyle with the hormones, and we're a little biased, especially the rhythmic dosing, now you have a great strategy there for really long-term success.
And like you said, it's multifactorial, but I will say for women that do take HRT, so somebody comes in to see me as a patient, and if you can get them sleeping better, let's say you give them some progesterone and they sleep better. I slept good last night. I feel better today. I'm going to make different choices. If you add in a little bit of estrogen and their brain comes awake and they feel good and that motivation is there, then they'll say, you know what, I'm going to skip that comfort food because I'm feeling good and I'm going to eat, some more protein. So that is one thing where you see the chicken and the egg when it comes to the HRT. Is it the panacea of everything and you take your HRT and life is perfect? Not exactly, but if you feel better, then you make different choices.
Right.
And those different choices matriculate and compound on each other of, oh, wow, I can fit into my jeans better. I'm going to keep eating this way. I feel really good. This is the best. I have women that tell me this is the best I've ever felt in my entire life. And that's what we want, especially in our 50s and 60s. We want to feel really good mentally and physically.
Yeah, that's why I think in our lifetime, we've talked about this a few different times. When we were young, people were old in their 50s. Right. 55 was considered a senior citizen. I ask women all the time now in their 60s, and I'm like, do you feel like a senior citizen? Like, no way. All the time, because I'm just sort of amazed at, how in just this one generation from when I was little until now and how much things have evolved. People's lifespans are, I would say their health spans have improved by, sometimes 5 to 25 years, as far as slowing down the decline that is inevitable for us as human beings. So
that's funny you were saying that. It just reminded me. So I just turned 53, and my parents were telling me the other day, they're in their 70s. They go, "Oh, Val, you're almost 55, and then you'll get the senior discount at Wajimaya," which is the Japanese awesome market here where we live in Western Washington. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get a senior discount? That just sounds so foreign to me. I don't feel like a senior.
I don't know.
I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
So you're right. That's what we want that. And something that I wrote about in my newsletter, this past newsletter that I write, the Progress Your Hormones newsletter, is we want to add life to our years. We don't want to add years to our life, like in feeling poorly, but if we add life to our years and we feel good, that I think is the goal.
And I think in the 21st century too, in 2026 and beyond, that should be the standard, right? That's what we should all be striving for. And medicine should be sort of evolving to create that. When I was in college, I used to work at a nursing home, and it was sort of like the best and worst job I had. It was sort of a great place because I got to meet some really, amazing people there. One of the residents there was the secretary of General Patton.
Wow.
Whatever. And you get to talk to them and to hear their stories, and so much history and things that you read about in textbooks, and they actually lived it, but at the same time, they're also horrible places too, because, the decline, the sadness, the loneliness, the physical inability to do things, the cognitive decline. Nobody wants to end up in a home. Nobody wants to end up like that and live,
scary,
10, 20 years miserable because your body just can't do anything. or medicine hasn't changed enough or evolved enough just to not give you cholesterol medication and think that's going to help you somehow. So I mean, it's just the idea that HRT. Now, granted, I love the fact that it's actually supported and encouraged, and I do think it does play a huge role in this anti-aging, this longevity, this let's stay as vibrant as we can for as long as possible. And if you can do that, you're going to decrease the risk of disease. I think I'm all for that. I think we should be pushing that as much as we can.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I feel like HRT in some ways, I don't want to call it magic, but it really can be magic for the right person to kind of get them feeling better, decide what their goals are. And yeah, hey, replacing those hormones, as long as they're bioidentical, you could do that for the rest of your life. Like, just to sum it up, you can take HRT for the rest of your life as long as you're working with a practitioner that's doing the checks and balances and making sure that it's appropriate for you.
I'm doing a webinar actually in the next coming week. I'm doing a webinar for a pharmacy that we work with on men's health and testosterone. No one ever tells men they have to stop testosterone. That question never even comes up. Men, you can take testosterone until you're 100, until the day you die. No one ever says you have to stop it after 7 days. Why would that be any different for women?
Probably because they say, oh, well, menopause is a natural fact of life. You're no longer fertile, which is, so much controversy with that I think that's why we're men can, take that testosterone forever. But I feel like for women, hey, we're living long lives. Like women outlive men.
Oh, yeah.
Just in general. But that's why we want to have those hormones so we can, keep our brain healthy, keep our heart healthy, keep our bones strong, be able to build that muscle. So I feel like the HRT is super important, especially in the later years when you want to make sure you maintain that muscle, you maintain that brain, that cognitive, and your cardiovascular health.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've never really subscribed, even back in the day when everyone was saying 7 years or you have to stop them at a certain time. We've never thought that, ever felt, before it was popular, we never felt that was really good advice. Like, hey, stay on as long as you want. Be prepared, because sometimes your body won't want you to stop, and then you'll end up, how many times have you had a patient stop and they're like, oh, I don't feel very good, I want to go back on.
Oh yeah.
Happens all the time. Yeah, sure, go ahead, you want to stop, go ahead, see how you feel. And then they don't feel very good, and they're like, "Oh, that was a bad idea."
Say, I'm addicted to these hormones. It's not that. You're not addicted. Addiction, we all know, is a whole other animal. A terrible, awful, horrible beast is addiction. You're not addicted to your HRT. It's just your body is running a certain way with this HRT that if you did, because I do have patients say, I don't want to pay for this anymore. I don't want to take this anymore. This is too much high maintenance for me. Then I'll say, okay, well, let's wean down so that your body can kind of get used to it.
Right. But there is no timeline.
Most don't want to stop their hormones.
But most of them don't. Most of them, no. The ones that have, most of them don't even consider it. Like, nope, I feel good. I'm not going to, it isn't broke. I'm not going to fix it. I feel great. They are looking at it from a long-term perspective. And I do think that because of that, I think that we're going to see some changes, and already we're noticing the changes in real time. Like I said, when we were young, I mean, people were, blue hair and old when they're in their 50s, and now that's not, nowadays people in their 50s are incredible, so, and it's just, people are doing things in their later years that would have never thought to, it would have been like the outlier before, but now it's becoming more and more the norm on a regular basis. People want to maintain their lives. They want to maintain the vibrance and their health for as long as they possibly can. And I salute everybody that tries to do that.
I do too.
Yeah. So anything else to say about how long you can be on HRT, or we covered the topic?
I think we covered it, but what about you?
Yeah, no, I think, like I said, it's one of these things that you could just keep talking and talking about, because I think it ends up being a really positive conversation, but there is still this idea that it needs to be cut off at some point. And I just think that that's a little silly.
Nope.
So until next time, I'm Dr. Mackey.
And I'm Dr. Valorie.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.